Call to order. This is the Township of Newtown Finance Committee meeting, May 21, 2025. Calling the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. Ed Naples is present. Lisa Purcell.
Here.
Larry Fisher.
Here.
Scott Trotter.
Here.
Rich Johnson.
Here.
Also in attendance, we have Tom Barbine, Finance, and John Weaver from Auditor. Next order of business is we need to have a motion to approve this. Oh, I apologize. We skipped the moment of silence. Thanks, Larry. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Now we can move along to, thank you, Larry, again. Consider, I need a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Larry Fisher and approved by Lisa Purcell. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous approval. Public comment for agenda items. We have no public comment. Minutes. We need to consider approving the minutes from the April 16, 2025 meeting. I need a motion in order to consider this.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Are there any comments, edits to the minutes? None?
None.
Great. Okay, so we had a motion by Lisa Purcell and seconded by Scott Trotter. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Reports, update from the township staff. Tom, it looks like you're sitting in the hot seat today.
I'm sitting in a hot seat, and that's
Good for
fine.
you.
That's fine. Just a few overviews, highlights at what's transpired in the last 30 days. We were required to submit our American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. Federal
Gonna do a reconciliation.
reconciliation, and this happens to be the final one with a closeout, audit closeout requirement. They've had yet established it, the guidelines, but it's pretty standard. We've actually exhausted all our funds. We've committed all our funds as required to be able.
You said exhausted, meaning have they been spent or just contractually committed?
Well, contractually committed. Exhausted from the respect by December 31st of last year.
Right.
We were required to either have a contract in place, have a exact identified purchase order, and we've met that commitment. So the entire roughly $1.4 million will be allocated. Specifically, we've taken the position, as we may have discussed here prior to this, for all stormwater projects
Right
within the township. Couple of facts about this filing. It's very strict guidelines, and if they did not like certain responses and detailed responses that you provide, they could come back and say findings, and you're required to return $250,000 or something like that. We've not received any. We don't anticipate receiving any. Some of my counterparts in the we've got a conglomerate, I guess, a group of finance directors that I've been parts of for various regions of the state, but now I'm in Montgomery County and Chester County and Delaware County, and this has been a hot button because a lot of them have received a lot of deficiency notices and such already. So of course, asking what to do and everything. So pretty fortunate that we know we did it the right way and took our time to do it the right way. Took webinars sponsored through the state and even the federal government to make sure we're doing it right.
Question, Tom, has there been any discussion or input from the Board of Supervisors as to post-spend down?
Sorry to,
Post-spend down, what, is there any thought or plan regarding go forward, once these monies are actually expended?
the monies are actually they're to be, they're to be spent by, typically the guideline is to spend them by the end of June. We've already committed, we've already expended since the report period runs from April 1st to March 31st.
Oh, okay, so it's a
Okay.
fiscal year.
So we've already, a stem of it, for the first quarter that's already been, expended.
Got
So
it.
right now, I believe we've got somewhere in the area of about 600,000 left, but it's all. It's across 3 projects. Our engineers have helped us, throughout the month of November, December to get some bids out there. 2 bids came in a little lower than we anticipated, and so we actually had to piggyback and get some more projects underway.
Is Peroni the ones that are really leading the charge in terms of, I'm sure along with Public Works,
Right.
with George, in terms of what's priority, what's number 1, number 2, number 3?
Right, there's a weekly, yes, there's a weekly internal meeting between representatives from the township, including George, the director of Public Works, and Eric Johnson, our engineer for Panoni, and Rich, our solicitor. So we all get together and that basically it's a prioritization meeting to start. And
See, that's what I'm getting at.
yes, comes to an agreement, yes.
Because there's got to be an horizon here once we realize, okay, we've got X to do and we only have Y, or we've already allocated Y.
Right.
What are we gonna do the day after?
And that's a an allocation that we've had. We still have to go part parcel to the budget that we approved for 2025. The stormwater commitments at certain like Rear Park, for example. We have so upwards of, I'll be conservative, upwards of $500,000 of grants that we're next going to. Our grant policy is to not draw down. It's always a reimbursement situation because obviously I've
Yeah, if
been-
it doesn't,
yeah, I've been other places where you had to actually then turn back some funds that weren't expended properly.
right.
So piggyback from after the ARPA funds are expended, we then have, again, working with ourselves, staff and Panoni themselves, they help us. We always do a grant update as to where things are subsequent to the ARPA funds being spent. We've already been through that already, so we're already planning already for the end of the summer into the fall.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at in terms of, and I should know this, but I apologize. For the 2025 budget, was monies allocated towards stormwater that's outside of the ARPA money?
Yes, yes.
How much is that number, do you know?
Okay,
Well, I'm sorry, I'm quizzing you, and I'll
No, that's
explain in a
fine.
minute why.
Right.
This predates you coming on.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you it's probably somewhere in the area of. We had $1.4 million, actually ironically enough, in the budget. It was not all being able to be allocated by ARPA funds. There were grants and then there was commitments of capital. Funding reserves that we already had built up.
Got it.
So, it comes out to just a shade under 3 million between, well, if you roll the ARPA into it, if you roll the ARPA funds that were available physically at the end of, beginning of 2025, there's about $2.3 million we're going to spend, okay, over the next, it'll over
Yeah.
our balance sheet date and go into 2026.
Yeah.
But it will, yeah, we've got projects lined up that all are stormwater related. And we could continue to do that because of the just certain pockets in the township that require it. And
Yep.
The reason my
Right.
probing, and I apologize if
No.
I drilled a little bit,
No.
because it predated you, and I don't know if Steve shared this with you.
Okay,
This committee spent a lot of time about starting 3 years ago, 2 years ago, towards looking at potentially different ways that additional revenues could be generated in order to fund this. And it was in conjunction with ARPA.
Right.
So now my wheels are turning now in terms of whether or not are any of those efforts been thought about of being resurrected, what the expectation is, so that we could support whatever is coming down the road, realizing we have a big financial nut that needs to be funded, and we no longer going to have ARPA funds.
correct. And I believe we may have discussed last finance committee meeting that there's an opportunity for a board of supervisors to consider what our neighboring townships and municipalities are doing
Yes,
from an earned income.
Yes.
standpoint. That to me is you can perceive it as you don't want to be the last person to enact something.
no, I realize
Right.
some of this is privileged, I get it.
Right,
I just didn't want something to come down to us that, to our group in terms of supporting this. Where just from an efficiency, if we knew in advance what was coming, it'd help. us.
okay, all right, well, I could put together where our.
Because I suspect, given the ground that
Yes.
we already dug up,
Right,
literally.
yes,
They'll probably, I'm guessing they will want to resurrect some of this.
yes. And along those lines, yeah, we have actually a sources and uses kind of situation.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That identifies by project, and then that's an internal meeting item.
So that's not a public document that's
Correct.
shared?
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a work of it's basically a talking a discussion, talking points scheduling. Otherwise meeting would go on. It already goes on for 2 or 3 hours, but it would go longer than that.
On a course, what?
Well, exactly. So, but however, it would be beneficial to give. Maybe I should put together something of that's. I get everyone's blessing, obviously.
I realize there's 37 things on your to-do list, so.
Yeah, it's,
And-
I'm good I'm up to 50, but then when I get to 51, I just tip over,
Yeah,
160.
I apologize, I don't know if there's any other questions from
Oh,
any
sorry.
of the committee members, because some of this
That's
I
fine.
realize with Rich and Scott, this
Right.
predated you guys as well, so,
Yeah, and
Can I
that's,
ask a quick question?
John.
The jobs that you're doing with, and the reason why I'm asking this is I'm involved in Lebanon County with an ARPA project that
Okay.
was using ARPA funding.
Right.
And that project required prevailing wage labor. Do all the township jobs require prevailing wage or just ARPA jobs?
Harper Johnson.
Okay, and
ARPA
then you
jobs
have a
specifically. And then
tracking system
Yes.
for confirming
we do,
confirming that,
we do,
okay.
and we have met that, and we've had, obviously, sign off requirements with the contractors and everything, so we've committed to that. And that was part of obviously, the contract acceptance
Right.
process, right? You gotta see where it is, obviously, you need to have qualified contractors, but they also we have to meet those needs, so there was a small, case in point, there's the new turf at Gable Fields and the fencing and everything and all the new lines and the way it's set up. That was long overdue. Amazingly enough, the amount, you'll see the rain the next couple of days, the amount of stormwater requirements underneath that
Yeah.
was a huge cost
Yeah.
of that entire operation. And that's why it was failing prior.
Right.
Prior to the prior field that we had installed was overdue to be replaced because of pockets and the destroying of, just the wear and tear of the subsystem. And that's why water would rise up and everything, and then there'd be floods going over the path, the walking path near it and everything. So all that has been addressed. Otherwise, it looked like a huge, stormwater basin, the lack of a better phrase, before they went the field on, because they had to clear it down and get it to that degree. But yes,
Yeah,
that's a
it-
requirement, John.
Yeah, it adds a degree of difficulty that I
It
don't
does.
think a lot of people are aware of, the challenges of just bidding those jobs
And
and.
the documentation.
Yeah,
It's, yeah, you find yourself, you go from here to here as far as alternatives because of some contractors by design have to price themselves out to meet what they believe is certain thing. So, just
Yeah,
add to
sorry,
that.
yeah, continue. I'm sure you had other items.
No, yes, and that's perfect. Just a few highlights, of where we are from a, financial standpoint for 2025. I just received the April 25 collection report for real estate taxes. We literally have, $500,000 remaining, to be collected on our 7.2 million of real estate taxes. We did have this, in the budget, again, we had a very slight increase. To get to there. Good news was we had, first quarter, we had a whole host of sales. And as a result, we got a check last week for, real estate transfer over $130,000, which is very nice because it adds, to the, we're projecting somewhere in the area of about just a shade under $900,000 of transfers. So already we've picked up $250,000 in the first. That was actually only the activity for, March and April, the first 2 months. You had another $100,000, 98,000 roughly. So what I'm saying is we're closing in on, and real estate taxes being our largest piece from an accrual basis, we're almost at 50% of collected revenues. Okay, because of where it was through the end of, April.
That raised the question. I'm
Sure.
sorry, quizzing
No,
you here without
That's
Steve.
what I'm here for. Yeah.
Wondering whether or not, do we, as a township, do we benchmark the relationship between total revenue versus the portion that's real estate tax collection? As compared to other townships, equivalent size, large or smaller, are we kind of in line or are we out of line? Has that ever been looked at?
We're actually, if we looked at it I don't know if this may get to where it is, if we look at it collectively in the county. For a municipality with a, full service police force as we have. And composite of county taxes and school taxes, we are, the lowest in the county. Translation, you take everybody in, Delaware County, like you would have to go to a Thorndale or places like that.
It's much smaller.
Much smaller, do not have state police.
Yeah, right. They use
Right.
the, right.
So providing the safety and security and services that we have, we're the best. As a few of my friends that have moved into the township from Montgomery County say, best bargain going from where I live compared, my neighbors moved here, they're like, this is great.
Yeah, I know Steve has asked us to hold off with you on
Right.
terms of trying to put out some public communication.
Sure,
But that, Jim,
right,
is something that I think would surprise dramatically our township residents.
and I believe, they could also, there's a, again, Not that they would have time when they're surfing the web, but there's a access that you can look at various breakdowns. of
Yeah,
tax.
that would require, no, you want to give it 20 seconds, the snapshot.
And I
there it is.
agree.
Right.
And I agree. And I believe. I will note that as a recommendation because I need to, I would love to do that because to me, the challenge with the first. My 2025 budget, the challenge with that was to get it to a point where all our. You know, our shopping lists were all met, you know, our needs were all met. It would require probably, 3 times the
Right.
1.999%
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
But obviously,
The balance. Understand.
to balance it all, the sensitivity to, as you can imagine,
In this environment.
yes, and that's kind of why the alternative referencing the alternative revenue,
Yeah.
methods to me, from a strictly financial requirement. Right. Yes. Thank you.
Anything else on, update on your side of the house?
That is all I have.
Great. Next item on the agenda, I don't know whether or not anybody in the committee has any new business items that they'd like to put out in case something we could look at in the future. I see none. All business, we just talked about this, we still have Steve still has the harness on you, Tom, that we can't come in and attack you for information to publicly disseminate.
Yes,
And then I had a follow-up point. I don't know if anything further, this is all in TBD in the process
okay,
in terms of any direct communication back from the board to this committee in terms of things they want us to investigate. I think obviously there will probably be something percolating on the capital side with
Yes.
stormwater related, but
Right.
independent of that, if there's anything else
at
you're
thi-
aware of.
at this point, I'm not aware of anything,
Okay.
unfortunately. I could
Good.
always ask.
Any other questions from anybody on the committee? Great, I see no public comment. And so we can adjourn the meeting at 8:27. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Just